Adam, let's wrap it up. You said you had one more thing for us,
Did.
an untimely review for Back for Blood.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously like. There's not really a finish point of this game, but
I got to do my intro.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I was just kind of like confirming and then going into it.
Oh, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen,
okay.
as you know, we are not influential enough, nor do we have the finances to get games ahead of embargoes. So we review games on our own dime, on our own time, and bring you the reviews when we can, making them untimely reviews. This week, to no one's surprise, as we already hinted, Adam has an untimely review for Back for Blood. Adam, let us know what you think.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't finished it because there isn't necessarily a finish point. I mean, I've played through all the missions currently. I've unlocked a significant amount of cards. I've done a lot to, at the very least, I feel like I've got a good run in. So, I think we're good. I think I can make a case for, having enough time in there that I can make a good opinion of it. So yeah,
Remember we talked about this last week about the reviews. You don't need to like rush through and finish it. It's about getting what the average person's experience would be.
all right. So I play with enough idiots online on random. So I think I've gotten a good ascent. No, like honestly, like there's really no way to put it aside from if you've been waiting for Left 4 Dead 3, you got this and you got it in spades. I know there's some complaints that people have had, and like, oh, the difficulty is really, really hard to begin with, and it is. Like if you play on what's supposed to be like the middle difficulty, you can't. Like if you start this game on veteran, you will fail because the way the game is kind of designed is through its card system, which are things that give you like perks and stuff. Like you have more health, or you have weapon bonuses, or you find more stuff out in the wild, whether it's ammunition or grenades or med kits or anything like that. The game is more or less designed for you to play it a bunch, collect a bunch of cards to really ramp up your character better, and then you progress more and more. It's a game that you just keep coming back to, and it's why I like it a lot, because it doesn't demand me to keep up. It's not like, a game as a service where, you got to make sure you're staying with it because they're going to keep adding stuff and you're going to miss out. Now it's just like, dude, go have fun, shoot a bunch of zombies, probably get absolutely just glomped to death, or, have some giant, massive zombie, which I pray to God if there's a zombie apocalypse, we don't have these level of mutations, because we're screwed if we have like kaiju level zombies walking around. But like, you walk into this game, you plop it in for a couple hours, you unlock some cool stuff, whether it's some more cards, maybe weapon skins, character skins. Like, now I guess there's one complaint: the character skins suck. That's something they better be adding forward, because like most of the stuff is not interesting. I hope they don't charge for it either, but we'll see where that goes. But you really just walk in and you plop it in, you get a couple of rounds in, you unlock some stuff, and then you come back another day. And whether that's with friends or just in randoms, the experience is mostly the same, unless you play with friends that just scream more. Then it's just louder. But otherwise, I mean, do you got any questions before I talk about like the actual gameplay? Because that's more important anyway.
Yeah, so just you know what? Do your thing, and then I'll ask the questions at the end, because you might already cover it. So just give us your full review, and then I'll ask the what the audience is probably thinking.
Sure. In terms of gameplay, again, very, very similar to Left 4 Dead. You have your journey to a safe house. They do sprinkle some more like objectives in this, rather than it just being finish the level or pull the lever, horde comes. There's still those things. But there are also like, there's one mission where you see the safe house pretty near in the level, but you got to go further in, save a bunch of like NPCs, and then get back to the safe house. So it adds a little bit more. There's another map where it's in one of the first parts of the initial act, where you got to run onto a boat, somehow get out of that mess, go to where there's a couple of military guys. They tell you, hey, we need to set explosive on this thing so we can just cut off this route. And you got to go back on the boat, get all the way through that, plant 2 bombs, and get the hell out of there before it blows up, because you only have about a minute. And even just that is enough to be like, it isn't just survive for 5 minutes. It's not, just the same old, same old. They've switched up the missions enough that, you can play through, like, I played through the entire act in one sitting, and I didn't feel like I was playing the same level over and over again. Yeah, there are the odd levels that have, like, just get to the end, which is fine, but then they mix it up, which keeps it fresh. And then on top of that, the gameplay is just even better, adding a few more cascade of weapons. You have more grenades to work with. You have like now mods so you can make your weapons better. There are things like these special doors that you can open as long as you have a certain tool, which will find things that you might really need, which are more modifications for your guns, maybe better weapons, and the really, really necessary medical charging kits, which you might come really desperate for if you're playing on harder difficulties. So there's enough there to keep it from just basically being a long slog of just walking and just hoping you find ammo and maybe a med kit here and there and then you're good. There is enough there. And these levels are relatively short too, so they don't drag either, which is sometimes some of the levels in the original Left 4 Deads, they maybe kind of outstayed their welcome a little too much, whereas these ones don't necessarily feel that way. So really, all in all, like, they've basically just improved upon everything and just made it so that, you know, it's not... I guess Left 4 Dead wasn't necessarily a slog, but if it ever was, they've removed that from this game. So it's basically improved it in every way. Like, the only complaints you can really have are pretty minor, in my opinion.
And what are those? Just...
Like I said, like the difficulty, if you don't know any better, the game should tell you from the very beginning, start on Recruit. Not because you're bad at the game, but because the game is specifically designed to be for when you have more and more perks on your characters or more cards to add up. Because the default set they give you will not prepare you for the absolute massive waves of zombies, and especially the special infected that they throw in later. Because that's when you need things like weak spot damage or more use, like you can open up your inventory so you can carry 2 grenades, sometimes even 3, and having certain characters that work really well together because also there's 8 different characters and they have their own special abilities too. It isn't just pick your skin, it's this character gets an automatic revive, or this character every kill gets like a bonus to their accuracy or damage, or this person's really fast when it comes to using things, whether it's planting bombs or repairing stuff. Like there's all those little things that add up if you have a good cohesion together too. So it isn't just if you're really, really good, you'll just go through. You might be able to pull a bit of your weight, but you kind of got to have a good collection of people with the right mesh, and then you also have to have the cards that are ready to prepare you for the situations that you're going to be in.
So that brings up 2 questions that you kind of touched on there. One, you know, having good cohesion with the group and stuff. Is this game something that you could either play single player or with randos, or is this something that you need to have a dedicated group of friends to play with?
If you want to play with randoms, start on Recruit and wait until you're really, really comfortable with the game to even try Veteran, because without communication, it's not easy, because you got to be able to point out, you know, where all the choke points are, where like certain like special enemies are. There is the Q key or whatever it might be on control to like tag stuff, but that's like you got to be quick to get those off, and sometimes people still don't pay attention. If you really want to play like Veteran, and especially Nightmare, which I hear is exactly what it entails in the name, you probably should play with people that you can talk to. But I mean, if you're just looking to just have a romp, you can play with randoms and be mostly fine even without communication. But if you're looking for a challenge, you might want to have people to play with. Like if you're looking for the harder stuff, you'll want to play with people over randoms.
And this is something where you do need to have like 4 actual people. You can't play like you and a couple bots. If
you only have 3 people, it will try to find a 4th random to throw in there, and if they leave, you're stuck with a bot forever. And the bots, for the most part, don't really hold their own very well.
Okay. And then the other one you talked about was the skins and like the character archetypes. You said there was like 8 different ones with each their own special perks. Like, does it feel balanced that no matter like that they all sort of carry equal weight, or is there clearly ones that are optimal and some that are subpar?
It really depends on what you want to do. Like, if you're going for harder stuff, there probably are a certain collection of characters you want to pick. But if you're going solo, there are some characters that maybe benefit you more. Like, there's one guy, like I said, if you get kills, it just increases and stacks your accuracy, and that might be really good when you're new and trying to figure it out. So, like, I think it really depends specifically on what you're trying to do. If you're going into like heavy difficulties, you don't want the guy who's just really a perk for himself. You'll want to make sure that you have 4 characters that are all going to benefit each other. But it really depends. Like enough of a skill level will probably get you by with most things, but like it's really hard to ignore certain characters when they offer things like an extra med kit or, you know, having a free revive. Like those things can be pretty important when you're getting into the real nitty-gritty of stuff. So like you can make an argument that right now you would probably lean towards maybe 5 specific characters, and the other 3 are more like I don't care if somebody picks it, but it probably wouldn't be where I'd go. And then
Okay.
who knows, maybe they'll add more down the line that just in kind of like an Overwatch scenario where if this game keeps doing what it's doing, if it's able to sustain, a decent player base, like you could add more characters in there and have some more abilities. I couldn't think off the top of my head what might be beneficial. Maybe you have some guy who's just like, maybe his melee is super fast or like he's really strong, so his melee like does like double damage or something. Like there's things like that you could do with it that could definitely add on to it. But as it stands right now, I think they've found a pretty decent balance, and it's just a matter of if the sustainment of the game is possible that they could go further with it.
Yeah. You touched on another thing there that I was going to ask next. Was, sustainment and, having a player base there. Do you feel that there's enough content in the initial release? One, for what just the price tag commands, whether you're buying it on PlayStation or if you are getting it through Game Pass, like, does it feel like it's substantial enough in terms of content to, keep players engaged? What is the player count like and how do you see it going? And lastly, like, is the game feel fresh enough in terms of like, does it have longevity?
I'll look at it from two ways, right? So in terms of value, if you have Game Pass, this is an easy get. There's no question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming it's $80 on PlayStation right now. I wouldn't pay 80. I wouldn't pay 80 for it. I think it is full price. I mean, even if it was 60, I still think it's probably not worth 60 because this is that kind of price determines something that you're going to play a lot and play it very often right away. You could very easily wait for this to go half off anywhere, whether it's Steam, whether it's on console, and you'd be fine. You can definitely get your money's worth out of it for $40. Like, this is the kind of game that like I'll play with my friends maybe once every week or two, depending on if we feel like playing the same game every week, because we play together once a week. So like, is it worth the whatever monthly payment I'm paying for everything else?
It is a full price game, by the way.
Yeah, if it's full price, unless that's going to be your thing for a while, you could probably wait for it to drop like at least $20-$30.
Now, do you think that the game has enough legs? Like, we have a ton of games that are now like games of service, live games, online that kind of live and die by being online. Do you think that this is a game that is going to have longevity and staying power?
If it eventually supports mods, yes. If it doesn't, that might be a challenge down the road. But I mean, Left 4 Dead is still pretty popular, so there is a distinct possibility that it will, even without modding. But I think, like a lot of PC games, if they don't, like, let's assume they don't ever add anything else to it, which I don't think that would be the case because it would make more sense given the fact they have cards and skins and stuff. They would add more. But if they chose not to, this could still last, like, have a decent community that runs it because it's a game, again, that you can just pop in every once in a blue moon and play and have a good time. It's like a lot of games that people play, like if you're looking at things like Gang Beasts or, I guess even Overwatch or things of that ilk, like, there are always games that you can pop in once in a blue moon, play a few rounds, and be happy with especially with friends. But like in terms of it being like top of the charts, like pretty high numbers consistently, I don't know if it'll do that the entire time. I think it would take its ebbs and flows where obviously if they, plop a new map like a new act in so there's more missions, or maybe they do a special crossover with something, like you could get some sustained like player base for a chunk of time again, but I don't think it's going to be like a high number forever. This isn't going to be like a Fortnite. This isn't going to be even like a CS:GO. Like there's no real PvP scene out for it either. So it's just a co-op game for the most part. So it's really just going to stem on, is it good enough that you could keep coming back to it with your friends? I think so, but I don't think that it necessarily translates to it being a high count. I think you'll see like a consistent, like, it'll be in the thousands, I think, would almost consistently for a long time, I would guess. But that really is just dependent on if the price starts dropping later on PC or on console, so that more players are probably thinking it's more worth the price now. Because like I said, $80, like it's a great game, but for $80, I don't see myself like going back to it enough times to justify $80 at launch.
Fair enough. I think that's anything else you want to close on? I think that's a good place to end it. But if you have any more thoughts,
I mean, like I said, if you were looking for Left 4 Dead, they finally gave it to us. It took way too long for, I guess, former devs in Valve to do it, but they did their job and it did exactly what it was supposed to do. I love it. And I hope that as its life cycle goes on, that they continue to add to it, because I think there's a lot of potential here. I don't think it's going to be like, levels of, like I just said, with Fortnite or even Overwatch. I don't think it's going to turn into like that game that every 6 months people go back to in droves. I think it's going to be hey, we haven't played Left 4 Dead in a few months. Hey, do you guys want to pop that in and play a few rounds and just mash some zombies into paste? And we'll be like, yeah, sure, let's do it. But I don't think it's going to be like every week we'll be like, all right, it's back for Blood Night, let's go. It's a game you can add to your rotation if you're playing with a bunch of friends.